Okay, moving on to chapter 4, the organization of musical sounds. So now we are on slide number 10. So in this chapter, we consider how melody, right, and harmony function together to construct a musical system. So let's start off this chapter by talking about the octave. Now, we talked about the octave in the last chapter, but we need to talk a little bit more about the octave. So remember in the last chapter we learned the octave is a specific kind of interval, right? It's a specific distance between two notes. Specifically, it's two notes that are 8 keys away on the piano, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 8 white keys away on the piano. So in Western music, pitches are named using the first 7 letters of the alphabet, A through G, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, which just start over again when you reach the next octave. Let me demonstrate. We'll start with, here's an A. And the way this works is we go like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, right? And it's just going to repeat again. Higher though now. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 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 A, B, C. My keyboard only goes up that high, but if I had more keys, it would keep doing the same pattern, A, B, C, D, F, G, over and over again. So the octave, again, spans 8 notes of a scale, right? In that case, A to A. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. In the last chapter, though, we learned from C to C. That's still an octave, right? It just has to be 8 keys away. You can start on A and go to the next A. You could start on B and go to the next B, C and to the next C, and you can do it with A, B, C, D, E, F, or G, and you can still get an octave. Okay, so we have that in mind. Let's go to our next slide, number 11. Now we need to talk about something called half steps and whole steps. So first, half steps. So half steps are also called semitones. And in Western music, they're called, in Western music, 12 equal semitones make up an octave. So, and I know that's kind of confusing because you just learned, wait, I thought 8 notes make the octave. Now you're telling me 12 notes make up the octave. So it is a little confusing at first, but it makes sense. So we learned, okay, 8 notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 are the octave. Right, that is an octave, 8 keys away. But we can break down that octave into semitones. And so in Western music, we have 12 equal ones. And I'll play them and count them. So notice, here's my octave from here to here. But if I incorporate the black keys, I'll end up with 12 of these semitones. So from here, from a white key to a black key, is going to be a semitone. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I end up at my next C, right? Which is my octave from C to C. So these are semitones, right? From a white key to a black key, from C to C sharp is going to be a semitone. And from these half steps are built different kinds of scales. We'll talk more about this when we get to major scales and minor scales. So if it's not making total sense yet, which I suspect probably it's not, when we get to major and minor scales a little bit later in this chapter, I think it'll make a little more sense. So let's move on to whole step now. So whole steps can be defined as 2 half steps, or also 2 semitones. So remember, okay, from C to the next black key up from it, that is an example of a semitone or a half step. Now, if I take, so that's a half step, and then if I go from this black key to this white key right next to it, which is D, that's also a semitone. So here's a semitone, and here's a semitone. That's 2 semitones, right? 1, and then 2. Now, a whole step is just 2 semitones. If I go from C to D, that's a whole step, right? Another way to think about it, maybe it's even clearer on guitar. So we can think of, hopefully you can see this. Let's move that. So on guitar we have these metal things here called frets, right? And you can see these vertical things. And if I play this note, which is an F, and then I play the very next note on the next fret, that's F sharp. That's a semitone. That's a half step. From here to here is a half step. If I go from here to here, though, that's a whole step, aka 2 semitones, right? So if I play it on guitar, here's my half step, here's a whole step. If I play it on piano, F to F sharp, that's this. That's a half step. But if I play from F to G, from here to here, that's a whole step. Okay? So that's half steps and whole steps. And okay, let's move on. So we'll get that. We'll talk more about those a little bit later again. So for now, though, let's go to slide 12. Let's talk about microtones. So microtones are intervals that are smaller than half steps. So again, here's my half step, or how about we'll do this one. Again, on guitar, my half step from here to here, right? So on the piano, I can't play any interval smaller than a half step or a semitone, right? On my piano, I can't do it. On my guitar, I can't do it. And it's just the way that these instruments are constructed. We can't get smaller than half steps. However, there are things called microtones. And other instruments from other cultures, and even our instruments from our culture can produce, like a violin, for example, can produce microtones. So these are intervals that are smaller than half steps. And they're more common in non-Western musics, which we'll talk more about throughout the semester, once we're done with these first few weeks, talking about the elements of music. So watch Barong Sleeps Beneath the World, which is a piece played by a guitarist. But notice on the video that the guitar that the gentleman is playing, it has frets. Remember those metal things on the guitar, these things? But the frets on that guitar in the video that you'll see are kind of slightly offset, right? And they're constructed in a way to produce microtones, right? So watch and listen to that video now. You can pause this video and pull that one up. All right, so let's move on to the chromatic scale. So the chromatic scale. Well, now, I played a scale before. Remember the one where we had like C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, or Do, Re, Mi, Fa, Sol, La, Ti, Do, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. So that is not a chromatic scale. That's actually a major scale. And we're going to talk more about major scales a little bit later. But for now, the chromatic scale. So the chromatic scale, I also played just a slide ago, or 2 slides ago. So chromatic scale is comprised of those 12 half steps that make up the octave. Remember that thing? from C to C, or for eight notes away. So if we split this up though into 12 half steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's a chromatic scale, okay? So that's how that goes. I can even play it on the guitar. If I play the same thing from C to C, that's an octave. But if I play all of the half steps, meaning every single fret, that's also a chromatic scale. Okay, so now let's talk about something called sharps and flats. So sharps, we'll start with that. So a sharp sign, as you can see on slide number 13 here, kind of looks like a hashtag sign. Well, it looks exactly like a hashtag sign. But in music, before hashtags, we had sharps. So sharps raise a note by a half step. So here's a note. This is a C. And if I apply a sharp sign to it, I'll get something that looks like this, and we'll call that a C sharp. So if I don't have my sharp sign on it, I just play my middle C. But if I have my sharp sign next to it, now I have to play the next black key up from it, the C sharp, okay? So C, so sharp sign raises, meaning we go higher, right? Not lower. Lower is to the left on piano, to the right is higher. So C to C sharp. That's so that's what a sharp sign does. Now a flat sign does the opposite. It lowers a note by a half step. And so, okay, here's a note. This is a B, and it's played right here on the keyboard. Now if I apply a flat sign to it, kind of messed that one up, but if I apply my flat sign to my B, now it's a B flat, and instead of this, I have to play one half step lower, meaning the next black key lower, to B flat. Okay, so that's how sharps and flats work on the keyboard. On guitar, you can do it another way. Here's a C, and then if I want to play a C sharp, I have to go up, right, to the next fret. I have to go up, in fact, a half step. Now, here's a B on the guitar, right, the one I wrote on there. Actually, the one I wrote on there, I guess, is this one. So here's a B, and if I want to apply a flat and say I want to play a B flat, I have to go down. On guitar, this way is down. So then I go down a half step. So that's how sharps and flats work. Okay. Let's move on.